The beautiful game has blessed us with some amazing players. Every era has its own suite of legends, but before all that, there was one person who made the game go global. And unless you've been living under a rock your entire life, you would definitely know who Pele is. Transcendent is very carefully used when someone of a legendary status is being talked about. But you can close your eyes and, without using many brain cells, call Pele transcendent, and it would make all the sense in the world. The Brazilian's impact was felt beyond the football field, even at a time when football had not gained a lot of fame in North America. Everyone knew who Pele was. Number 10 was just a number before Pele. Football was just a sport. The world did not know why Brazil equated football. And this is what Pele changed during his time, not just on the field, but on the planet as a whole. His achievements on the field were many. Stick around for a bit before we tell you why and how Pele was a transcendent character. But before that, let's talk about his ability on the pitch. Pele scored 12 goals in 14 World Cup matches and to this day is the only person who has won the World Cup 3 times. For over half a century, people who only knew the game of football but never really followed it knew who Pele was. While today we have been spoilt by the achievements of the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, even these two would struggle to match Pele's exploits. The Brazilian has 2 Guinness World Records, which includes a haul of 1,300 career goals that is unlikely to be repeated. He scored 77 goals in nearly 90 games for the national side, and we don't see anyone who can match his goal-scoring rate. But more than just scoring goals and making history, Pele was a trailblazer and a pioneer on the pitch. I'm sure that all of you would have seen the likes of Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldo, Nazario and others do some crazy things on the pitch, and that some of the skills are synonymous to them. However, long before their time, Pele was already doing all this. Even the Cruyff turn, one of the most iconic skills in the game's history, was first done by the Brazilian great. Now, a lot of people would say that Pele thrived in an era where the game was much slower than it is today. However, it would always be difficult to compare eras. But then again, if you take Pele's skill and ability into account, we're sure that he would have thrived in any era. In fact, the modern game would have made him an even more productive player because referees would be much tougher. Some of the moves that he scored goals from are timeless. For instance, that goal against Sweden in the 1958 World Cup when he was only 17. Pele flicked the ball over a player, went around him and scored an absolute beauty. That goal would be a contender for goal of the season in any era. Now let's get back to the earlier statement that we made about Pele being a transcendent character. When a former US Secretary of State and Nobel Prize winner Henry Kissinger visited Brazil, he also met with Pele. At that time, football was slowly getting a bit of prominence in North America. The North American Soccer League was set up and New York Cosmos were eager to create a legacy. For that to happen, they needed a larger-than-life figure such as Pele to be part of the movement. And the Brazilian said yes to the move. While his arrival did not make football the major sport in the United States, what it did was that it inspired people from all over the world. By making the move to Manhattan, Pele became the game's global ambassador. Every time there was a football event happening, you would see Pele promoting it. Pele engaged with the local community and the bureaucrats to help the game gain prominence in a region where the NFL, MLB, NHL and NBA were the dominant forces. Now, a lot of people say that Pele's legacy is incomplete because he never got to play in Europe. If you ask us, we agree that it does not make sense, but then again, during the early 60s and late 70s, there weren't a lot of South Americans playing in Europe. On top of that, the Brazilian government actually decided to declare Pele a national treasure, which meant that no club could sign him outside of Brazil. Towards the end of his career, the likes of Real Madrid and Juventus wanted to sign him, but that never happened because the Brazilian government didn't want to. But it wasn't just the government. Pele himself admitted that he never felt like leaving his country for another one. Upon his retirement, rather than stay away from the limelight, Pele became the national team's biggest fan. Not just that, he would always look at rising talents from all over the world and always seemed to have time for them. In 2013, when Sir Alex Ferguson retired from management, Pele revealed that the Manchester United legend had always been his idol as a coach. He even chimed in on the Ronaldo-Messi debate, once stating that Ronaldo was a more complete player, but he did that without discounting Messi's greatness. While he always shared a strong bond with Neymar and always backed him up during difficult times, Pele seemed to be a huge fan of Kylian Mbappe. During the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, the Brazilian even said that he sees shades of him in the French international. Pele went as far as to suggest that Mbappe can even become his heir. Those were big words, but if you look at how Mbappe plays, there are definitely similarities. About 70 years ago, a man from Bauru, a small city in Brazil, was glued to the radio, intently listening to the commentary of the World Cup game between Brazil and Uruguay. The hosts needed to avoid defeat to win the World Cup in 1950. While the father was listening to the commentary, his son was playing football on his own. The game ended in a 2-1 win for Brazil's neighbours. The boy heard his father weeping. In order to comfort him, the 9-year-old boy promised his dad that he's going to win the World Cup for him. 8 years later, a 17-year-old would score in the final and guide Brazil to their first ever World Cup trophy. That person was Pele, who was simply destined to become the game's first ever global star. So in the end, Pele was one of the most influential sportsmen in history. His impact went far beyond his ability on the pitch. His legacy is something that you can easily see in Brazil and the MLS. The latter's growth is tied to his short stint with the New York Cosmos. Growing up in poverty, Pele knew how to make use of his fame, and his charitable foundation still helps children dream of a better future. He may be gone, but the world will continue to remember the greatness of a man who walked the earth and achieved things that very few people have been able to do. Guys, let us know your favorite Pele memory in the comments below, and make sure to watch these videos before you go. Till next time.